Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story where OP, fresh out of tech school and working at a parts shop, encounters a self-proclaimed car expert demanding a new set of brake pads and coverage for damaged rotors. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Sir, those brake pads were installed upside down. This was about 10 years ago when I was fresh out of tech school working at a parts and repair shop. We had a policy on brake pads with a lifetime warranty. The warranty covered manufacturing issues and regular wear, meaning you could bring in worn pads for a new set, no questions asked, but the warranty didn't cover misuse, modifications, or faulty installations, which turned out to be exactly the problem in this case. Cast. Techie, the self-proclaimed car expert customer, me, yours truly, manager, my boss, a patient guy with a lot of experience, Sam, my coworker, a master mechanic with a blue logo car brand who had transitioned to parts and repair after a motorcycle accident prevented him from working under the hood anymore. So one day Techie comes storming into the shop holding a set of absolutely destroyed brake pads. He'd purchased our top-end ceramic pads just a couple months prior, which was odd because ceramic pads usually last a while. These pads, though, looked rough, as if they'd been through a lot more than a couple of months' wear. Techie, these pads are junk. I put them on my car, and in 2 months they're completely shredded. You need to give me new pads and cover my rotors because these ruined them. I apologized and explained that we'd take a look and try to help. As soon as I examined the pads, though, I noticed something odd about the wear pattern. It looked exactly like what happens when brake pads are installed upside down, which, for anyone familiar with brake jobs, is hard to mess up. Me. Sir, it looks like these pads were installed upside down. Techie, outraged. Upside down? I've been working on cars for 30 years. There's no way I installed them wrong. Who do you think you are? You're barely out of school and you're accusing me? This rant went on for a while, with him calling me inexperienced and demanding someone with actual knowledge take a look. Hearing the commotion, my manager came over to try and mediate. Manager, what seems to be the issue? Techie, this kid claims I installed my brakes upside down. I want someone who knows what they're doing to look at these. Manager, all right, we have Sam, who's a certified master mechanic, here with us today. I'd be happy to ask him to take a look if that makes you more comfortable. Techie, yes, please, someone with a brain. Manager called Sam to the counter, and after one glance at the brake pads, Sam confirmed what I had suspected. Sam, yeah, these were definitely installed upside down. That's why you're seeing this wear pattern. Techie looked like he was about to blow a fuse. Realizing he was getting nowhere, he stormed out without his replacement pads or any compensation for his rotors. After he left, we all had a good laugh about how he'd managed to install them wrong in the first place. For context, at the time, I looked every bit the rookie, barely 20 with shaggy hair and the look of a kid fresh out of school. I wasn't claiming to be an expert, but even I could tell when brake pads were installed upside down. Sam, with years of experience and specialized certifications, confirmed it without hesitation. Anyone who's ever done a brake job knows it's nearly impossible to get the pads on upside down. But hey, Techie sure showed us his 30 years of experience that day. Getting them on upside down isn't as impressive a feat when you realize the only way to wear a glove inside out is with the left on your right and vice versa. Willing to bet he put the L on R and R on L. And our second story. I've paid too much, and you're going to fix it. This happened about a week before Christmas in a budget clothing retailer. The busiest time when none of us can really afford to spend too long with any one customer. When all 14 registers are open in my department and the queue still isn't going down, we tend to have all managers and supervisors behind the tills helping with bagging and correcting prices, allowing us to keep a good watch for any problems. On this particular occasion, one of the managers was helping to pack for a man and 2 women, whom I assume were his wife and mother. They'd brought 8 wheel baskets of stock, and our baskets are pretty big, amounting to about a 400-pound sale. And everything they picked up was on sale. We're talking 100 to 200 items. During the transaction, they questioned every single item, making the manager double-check the prices and correcting a small handful that went through incorrectly. Finally, they paid. and that should have been the end of it. But then they proceeded to wait at the end of the tills until another manager waved me over and asked me to deal with them so she wouldn't get tied up with them. And this is when it got tedious. Starting with, "I've paid too much, I want my money back," the already angry man then admitted he didn't know how much he'd been overcharged or for what items. I told him, "Okay, then I'll have to check your receipt against what you've bought to see if all the prices are correct." Angry man, "No, get a calculator and add everything up." Me, "Sir, the till is a calculator. If I add all the prices on the receipt, the total will be the same. I need to know which items went through incorrectly to find out how much you've been overcharged." AM, "No, do it and give me my money back you've stolen." Me, "I want to help you, but I can't give you your money back if I have no idea how much it is." All the while, I was pretty certain he hadn't been overcharged, but this went on for about 15 minutes until his mother finally intervened and convinced him that letting me see the receipt was the only way they might get a refund. Unfortunately, until this point, I hadn't realized they bought 8 baskets worth of merchandise. It should have been relatively straightforward to go through every bag and tick each item off the receipt to verify the correct price. Even more unfortunately, Angry Man didn't trust me to do this. He thought I'd somehow steal more, which meant that for every item I checked, I had to deal with him standing way too close with his bad breath so he could check the item off the receipt too. Just to make things a little more interesting, items appear on our receipts as codes, not names, and that code appears roughly in the center of a few tiny lines of codes on our tags. Angry Man did not want to learn where this code was on the tag and required me to point to it on every one, then where it appeared on the receipt, and let him double check it until he was satisfied enough for me to move on. I'll spare you the details of the next hour of my life, but it involved a lot of angry man breathing in my face, turning to yell at his wife in a foreign language I didn't recognize. He was clearly fluent in English and had a local accent, so there were no language barrier issues here. And towards the end, as he became increasingly bored and agitated with the process he'd created, he started repeating what I had said in a sing-song voice and mocking my accent. These are just the highlights. Eventually, we finished going through the receipt, and surprise, surprise, everything was correct. But Angry Man wasn't happy. He still insisted he'd paid too much and wanted me to fix it. Eventually, I realized the only way to get rid of him was to convince him to return some of his purchases. Angry Man was okay with this and briefly became just Disgruntled Man. But then I had to break the news that only the customer service desk was capable of processing returns, not the regular registers. Fortunately, Angry Man's mother was tired of hanging around by this point and persuaded him once more to follow me upstairs to the customer service desk, where we skipped the queue and opened a till specially for him to return 150 pounds worth of discounted goods that we'd have to put back out later. It took some convincing to help him understand that the money would be back on his card within 3 days, but he eventually left, ladies in tow, yelling at the top of his voice in that same foreign language for some reason. Some might say I should have handled things differently, maybe confronted Angry Man about his behavior. But to be fair, he did give me an hour and a half away from the Christmas rush, so that was nice of him. I still took my break right after. I feel horrible for his wife and mother. His mom stuck with him, but I can't imagine marrying a guy who behaved like that. He repeated what you said in sing-song for F's sake. What a baby. You handled this way better than I would have. And our last story. Karen thinks the public park belongs to her. For as long as I can remember, our neighborhood had a quiet little park, a modest stretch of grass with a couple of trees, a few benches, and a peaceful walking path. It wasn't much, but it was where people met up for picnics, kids played catch, and dog owners took their pets for short walks. Over the years, more and more families moved into the area, and parents started pushing for a small playground. It took countless meetings, petitions, and back and forth with the city, but eventually we got approval to put a few play structures on a third of the park. This didn't sit well with everyone, though, and that's where Karen comes in. Her house borders the park, and she'd made it clear from day one that she wasn't a fan of changing her view. Karen argued at every public meeting that she'd lose her privacy and even tried to claim part of the land was hers because her garden extended up to the park fence. She backed down pretty quickly once someone shared a copy of the property map, but she didn't let the playground plans go without a fight. Once the equipment was up and the playground opened, Karen took her grievances to our neighborhood group chat, urging parents to keep their children's noise to a minimum and calling the playground an eyesore. It became almost a daily ritual to see Karen's posts complaining that the park was now overrun with unsupervised kids and warning everyone that it would inevitably attract unwelcome types. The day the playground was officially completed, families gathered for an informal celebration, and the place was alive with happy kids and parents chatting by the swings. Karen, however, took to the group chat again, claiming the noise was unbearable and warning that teenagers loitering in the park would spell trouble. A week later, she saw a few teens hanging around after school, taking turns on the swings and chatting. Convinced that they were up to no good, Karen actually called the police, alleging that they were causing a disturbance and possibly even vandalizing the equipment. When the police arrived, they found 3 teens sitting on the benches, quietly talking and scrolling on their phones. After a quick chat, the officers left, probably wondering why they'd been called out for kids simply existing in a public space. But to Karen, this incident proved her point. She saw it as a reason to escalate. Karen then decided to get evidence to shut down the playground. She was out the next morning, camera in hand, snapping photos and scribbling in a notebook, presumably documenting violations. She even managed to corner one of our local council members at the farmer's market, warning him that the playground was turning her peaceful backyard into a public nuisance. But over time, Karen's complaints became little more than background noise. These days, the playground has become a beloved community spot, and Karen's grumblings have mostly faded into irrelevance. This is the same woman who calls in a noise complaint because the neighbor kids are playing basketball in their driveway at 3 p.m. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.